Okay, so earlier this evening on the 6th of November, BattleBots released all of the 2020 competitors onto their website. The pictures of them, the descriptions of them, whatever. And I am going to be looking through every single robot today. There are 62 of them, so I'm going to be talking very, very fast. Apologies in advance, but let's get straight into our first robot. It is, of course, Aegis, the Kevlar flipper. And it is looking fantastic. It looks slightly different to the CADs. I thought for a while that it was going to have like a tiger pattern on it, and it doesn't, which is interesting. It's armoured in Kevlar at the side. It's got metal underneath it, but it's Kevlar. And Kevlar is interesting because it can actually gum up and entangle spinning weapons, as well as being almost ablative armour, and quite tough as well. So that should be interesting. I don't think the team is new to the sport completely, but I think this is their first heavyweight, so it is of course very exciting. And they were nice enough to leave a comment on my previous video when we saw them in the test box firing their flipper for the first time, and they said thank you for holding them to a high standard, and I do. It's quite a cool robot, and I think that it could do well if they don't feed it to Tombstone or something straight away. But seriously, Aegis is a very, very cool robot. Then we have the first Indian team ever to enter BattleBots. That is, of course, Atom94. And Atom94 is so awesome. It is just one of the best looking robots I've seen. Two-wheel drive, vertical Drisk. It's got a lot of power. We saw it chucking about the tyre. It's not the quickest robot I've seen, but it is a very practical design. It's got a lot of power in the weapon, and I think personally those are two very good combinations indeed. And so that is Atom94. Okay, so here we have Axe Backwards, and hopefully this year their drum will spin, because last year it didn't, except in the Deep 6 fight, and then it got split in half. So of course Kurt Durgeon has returned. This year Axe Backwards has double axes. It looks a bit shorter and a bit thicker. The teeth look absolutely much bigger, and obviously if the drum spins, then we've seen that Axe Backwards can be a fairly competitive robot, because we saw it launch Deviled Egg across the air. It's beaten Ultimo before, so it's not a bad robot when it's working, but it has to work. So maybe Axe Backwards will win some fights, and maybe it won't. Hopefully it will, because it is very reminiscent of classic machines. It's a bit of an old school design, but it's really, really cool when it works. All of these machines are. Right, the next robot is, of course, Axolotl, and Axolotl was one of the last robots that was kind of rumoured to be competing. I've only first saw it about a month ago, and it is basically a really, really wide, it's one of the widest robots in the field. Two-wheel drive drum spinner, similar to that of Pulsar from Robot Wars. And I think that it could do very, very well. Obviously the tyres are exposed, and like any other robot that would be a weakness, but of course the weapon does look like it has a lot of power, since the robot itself is quite small, so I imagine there's a lot of mass in the weapon. Just one thing that slightly worries me is that those kind of like front prong things are connected to the side armour, so if it gets hit by a horizontal spinner, it could rip the whole side armour off. And that would be a problem. So they've probably thought this about this more than me, but I just hope that the whole robot doesn't get ripped in half by a hit from a horizontal spinner, because that would be problematic. So Axolotl is, of course, a very cool machine. I like what they're doing with the pink there. We haven't seen a lot of pink robots previously. But it's like the Racing Point from Formula 1. It's very cool. Next up, we have the return of BaleSpit. And BaleSpit is the only robot to use a pneumatic spike. It's made by Farmers, I think. I'm assuming. Anyway, BaleSpit, we haven't seen it in a few years, and people have been saying that this version of BaleSpit looks more competitive. It looks like it's got more power in the weapon, and maybe it's a bit faster as well, but in terms of how well it's actually going to do, I don't know, because everything at the front there is looking very exposed. One hit from anything and I feel like it's going to fall apart. Like we did see it at Orlando, and it got taken apart by the Krusty Grab, which is a lifter. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen again, and we can see a win out of BaleSpit, because I don't think it's actually won before. So hopefully it can actually pick up a win this season. Next up, we have the only British team competing this season. It's Beta, and Beta is a pneumatic-powered hammer this time. It's got a lot of power in that hammer, I'm assuming, because apparently it's more powerful than the electric hammer, and that was one of the most powerful and effective hammers that we've ever seen. What makes Beta dangerous, however, isn't really the hammer by itself. It's also a very effective wedge bot. It can push things around, and that's like the key to using its weapon, and it can survive hits from about anything that you throw at it. It is a very, very durable machine, similar to Terahertz. You just don't see it die, it just doesn't happen. So Beta, of course, is absolutely a contender for the top 4. It will struggle against Verts, all hammers do, because when it fires the hammer, the whole robot lifts up. So of course that would be a problem, but other than that, I think they are good to go for the season. Amazing effort that they actually made it to BattleBots, the only English team to do so, and that is very exciting, and I'm so looking forward to seeing them in the arena after so many years. Like, we saw them in 2016, they were meant to compete even before that, but they didn't make it, so we've not seen enough of Beta, and I'm so thankful that they managed to make it this season. Black Dragon, and Black Dragon is of course the only Brazilian robot to make it to BattleBots this season. Minotaur couldn't make it. It looks shorter. It looks much shorter, and here they've combined the wedgelet with the wedge, which I think is very smart because you can fight verts and horizontals. And it is an egg beater spinner. It launches things through the air really quickly. Made it to the top 16 last year. Lost to Lockjaw after a bit of a dodgy choice with their interchangeable setup. Like, they used a full anti-spinner wedge instead of the wedgelet, and was chucked around by Lockjaw as a result, which was unfortunate because they had potential to beat Tombstone and Bite Force as well. So if they don't do that with the strategy again, then they are absolutely a contender for the title, because it's got a lot of speed, an excellent driver, and one of the most powerful vertical drum egg beater things. So Black Dragon is a recipe for success. Next up, we have Black Widow, and Black Widow is a new robot, and it looks a bit fragile. It's not a bad looking robot at all. In fact, I love the spider theme. Very nice curves at the back. I like the pattern as well. But those arms, legs, spider legs, they look like they're made out of tube, which isn't very strong. And then if you take that tube away, it's a bit like Deviled Egg. It's a circle and there's a drum spinner. The drum spinner looks a little bit far back, and the teeth look like they're pieces of metal bolted onto another piece of metal. So obviously not the most highly engineered of the bots, but still very, very awesome. And if the drum spinner works and it's got power, then it could cause a few upsets, I reckon. But like I said, it's hard to predict how well it will do if I've never seen it before, so it could do amazingly for all I know, so good luck to the team. Next up, we have Bloodsport, and Bloodsport, another team who kindly commented on my videos. They brought back an absolute monster this year. Look at this thing. It looks absolutely amazing. It's like a combination of Sal and Megabyte. They've got the Tri-Bar Spinner, which was cut at Team Waiachi's Water Jet Cutter. And it's very fast. It's got wedgelets in case its weapon stops working, so it can push other robots around. It can self-right. So it's like Son of Waiachi, but more optimized. So, and that, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Top 16 at least, maybe even top 4. It just all depends on how reliable it is and how well it can take hits. Absolutely love Bloodsport. Next up, we have Bronco. Yes, we do. We have Bronco. They were teasing something, and I didn't believe anyone who said that they were going to be there. They are here. They are here at BattleBots 2020. I genuinely thought that we would never see Team Inertia Labs with Bronco ever again, and here they are. And Bronco looks exactly the same. So hopefully it won't split in half this time, the flipper, because that was a bit humiliating for them. But I don't know if they're actually competing, or if they're just like an exhibition match bot, because we've heard that Son of Waiachi are back, and that will be covered later on in this video, as are Icewave. And me and some other people were thinking that none of these robots seem like they're actually in the competition, because Sal was confirmed not to be competing, as was Bronco. And Icewave is back, but they've said that they're only making an appearance, not actually competing in the actual series. So we reckon that something might be going on with these three, and they might be alternates. Still, whatever they are, I'm absolutely thrilled to see Bronco back, and I know some certain fans are definitely thrilled to see it back as well. Obviously, the OG flipper of modern BattleBots, you just can't beat it. So awesome to see it back finally. Next up, we have Captain Shrederator, who is going to do much better because they look more like the one they took to China. Shrederator Tiger Claw, I think it was. It looks more like that, and that was lethal. So good luck to them and their quest to win BattleBots. Next up, we have Chomp, and it is huge. It's a walker. It's so well engineered. They fit like every single piece of technology that they can into this. That hammer is going to be absolutely mentally powerful. I pity whoever it faces. A lot of people have been going on about, oh, the side armor looks weak, oh, the stuff is exposed. Yeah, but who is actually going to take advantage of that? Because I don't think a vertical spinner is going to be able to lift that whole thing up. They could probably damage the side armor, but not lift the whole thing up. Unless Bombshell brings back their, like, cutter thing that they used to take off Cobalt's wheels, I don't think anything's going to be hitting those legs over there. The turret, of course, rotates and just hits anything that comes near it. And, of course, the side armor is the same specifications that they used on the previous Chomp, and not one thing has managed to even put a dent in that. And, of course, it might look flimsy, but look at the size of the thing. Everything that you see there is probably a bit stronger than you think it is, because it's double the weight of its opponents. That weight has to go somewhere, so you know it's probably gonna have a lot of power, and it's gonna be very, very durable. So it could win some fights. I think it will win some fights. Amazing work from the Chomp team as always. Next up, we have Chronos, one of the teams that I'll be rooting for. And I'm so glad that they made it. I think that they had to do a fundraiser to get there, but they are here. Paint job looks absolutely fantastic. The team, as always, look fantastic. And it's invertible, and it's got like the wedge tooth thing. Not much to say about Chronos, except it's absolutely going to wreck some stuff. If you thought the damage to Copperhead was bad, I bet they're going to do like damage even worse than that now that they've worked out sort of reliability issues with their robot, and now it's going to look absolutely terrifying, and they're going to do really, really well. Next up, we have Claw Viper, which is a control bot similar to that of Complete Control. It grabs things and lifts them and flips them backwards. We saw it in a video suplexing the Big Dill, and it works, and it looks amazing. It looks like the CADs that they originally released of it, and that's how you know it looks good, when it looks like an actual render of the bot. It's just fantastic. It's more optimized than Complete Control. It's going to take on the verts very well. The forks, as I've seen before, can actually get underneath verts, and that kind of like claw shape, it's almost like a wedgelet that's been bent a little bit. That's going to be very useful when grabbing robots with vertical spinners as well. So it's a suplexing bot that's optimized to compete in the current environment of lots of vertical spinners, and it is going to do very well in my opinion. Next up, we have Copperhead, and Copperhead, of course, Robert Cowan made a video outlining all of the new changes in Copperhead, so go and see that. Looks wise, it looks absolutely fantastic. They did the whole thing with like the patina on the effect on the all over the robot, and it's hand painted, and the drum is black, and it just looks absolutely amazing. Made changes to the weapon motor. They've used belt guard, and they've got an anti-horizontal spinner configuration at the front, so Copperhead is going to do very well this season. Next up, we have Deadlift, and Deadlift looks like something made by SpaceX. It looks so clean, so tidy, so smooth, and it is of course another lifter similar to Gruff, but without a flamethrower. It just looks so nice and tidy, and that lifter looks absolutely fantastic. It can take on horizontal spinners because of it's not just forks, it's got a front panel, and it can take on verts because it's got the forks, and it's not just a panel. So, of course, another very competitive robot. Even the like walkers and the lifters looking super competitive this year, so good luck to all of them. Next up, of course, we've got the only robot to come from New Zealand this season, and that is EndGame. And EndGame is a 4-wheel drive vertical spinner with so much power. They've got a new self-righter that's actually going to work this time, I'm sure. They've got wedge forks, they've got an anti-horizontal spinner setup, they've got so much power in the weapon. And of course, EndGame is an extremely powerful robot. And people have been saying, oh, hang on a second, it's very unreliable, it can't beat Witch Doctor. Yes, it can beat Witch Doctor. It will be Witch Doctor, trust me. Of course, I don't know anything about the new season of BattleBots. I'm just some guy from the UK, but I think that it could beat Witch Doctor very easily, in fact. Next up, we have Extinguisher. Extinguisher is, of course, a Swiss Army bot. It's got a vertical spinner and it's got a hammer. Another team that commented on my video, so thank you very much. It's got custom molded tyres. It's got anti-vert setup, it's got an anti-horizontal setup like we see here. The hammer's got a lot of power, more power than last season, and the vertical spinner, we've not actually seen it hit anything yet, so we don't know how powerful that is, but the hammer certainly is looking very destructive. It is so much faster this season, and it looks a lot tougher as well. I just hope that the wheels don't get damaged by anything, but Extinguisher, of course, is going to be a very competitive robot. Fusion, and Fusion is the first robot from Team Waiachi on this list. It is a new robot, vertical drum spinner, combined with a horizontal rotor there. And oh my god, this thing sounds like a jet engine when it spins up. As long as it's not got the reliability of Falcon, it is going to send some stuff flying. The drum spinner has got more than enough power in it to send something through the roof. And the horizontal spinner, I've not seen it hit anything yet, but I'm sure when it does that it will tear things to pieces. I mean, look how clean it is and just how compact it is, and absolutely marvel of engineering from Team Waiachi, and I think it's going to do fantastically. Next up we have Gamma 9, an old school kind of race Batmobile thing. It's got a lifter on the front, it's got an anti-spinner wedge, very very old school, of course an old school team, and it looks better than the previous Gamma 9, which was a crusher, and it lost to things, but this Gamma 9 looks better because it's got a wedge. And of course it's got a lifter, and I'm assuming that the lift is going to work. So Gamma 9, it looks absolutely fabulous, of course. And of course they've got the sort of anti-vertical spinner forks at the front. A lot of robots this season have decided to take on the meta directly. They've added forks to their robot, and they've got big wedges to combat horizontal spinners, so very competitive this season. Even Gamma 9 is looking competitive, so I'm very very excited to see them. Very very cool aesthetic, I like the colour scheme. Of course it's got the 9 painted on there, and the dome, the Gamma 9 dome, and they always have that, and it's absolutely great to see. And it's really nice to see teams that were from the classic season still competing. The history is still active, it's the classic teams are still competing. It's fabulous. I don't know what I'm saying. Let's move on. Gemini, and Gemini is looking very very cool this year. I have to say, when I saw this new Gemini, unlike some of the other robots, it just looks really, it looks so improved. Like the armor especially, it looks better. It just looks tougher, it looks more durable, and of course the bar spinners on the front, they look like double bar spinners. If you look closely, they've got like double layered bar spinners there, as opposed to their discs with tiny teeth. They didn't get any bite with those in previous seasons, so now they switched to bars. Hopefully they'll be more powerful and get more bite, because Gemini has never really lived up to its potential. Of course they could be 2 horizontal spinners, of course has potential to do a lot of damage, but the previous discs didn't really have very big teeth and they broke very easily. These ones just look a lot more sturdy and I think a lot more likely to win, so well done to Team Gemini and good luck. Next up we have the return of Ghost Raptor, the Raptor of the Ghost, and oh my god, Chuck Pizza looks different. But Ghost Raptor is of course the angled spinner on the end of a lifter from Team Raptor, another classic BattleBots team, and making its return. And we've seen in the test box that Ghost Raptor spinner has a heck of a lot of power, very very fast. We've seen it raise with the weapon spinning, the lifter, and it's hard to tell how it's going to do because we've never seen this version fight before. We don't know how strong it is. A lot of people have been speculating that if it gets hit by a spinner, it's going to break apart because those joints look really thin. They do look really thin, I hate to admit it. I've been defending Ghost Raptor a lot, but it does look kind of frail towards the sides, and there's exposed drive chains and things. I think the weaponry and the speed more than makes up for that though, and of course, amazing to see a team like this competing still. Next up we have Gigabyte, and Gigabyte looks absolutely fantastic this season. We saw it in the test box. It's got the power of Super Megabyte now, like I mentioned, and it's going to tear some stuff up. It can self-right effectively this season. It looks even more awesome when it's spinning, and I am really genuinely looking forward to seeing Gigabyte this season. Next up we have Grabot, and Grabot looks like a Mars rover. It's got a big sturdy wedge on the back, it's got little grabby claw things. Okay, so it's obviously not designed to win the whole tournament, but it is designed to put on a good show, and it looks complicated. And I wouldn't want to be the one fixing those arms because they probably have a bunch of stuff in them. So Grabot, it looks complicated, not the most competitive, but still very cool. Next up we have Gruff, and I was staring at this robot for like 5 minutes straight trying to work out what is on the front of that robot. Is it fabric? It looks really strange, like just above the front wedge, next to the orange lines, there's like some kind of material. It looks like fabric. I may be wrong though. Gruff, of course, another lifter. We saw them last season, a very durable machine, and of course they've got very powerful flamethrowers. The forks look much tougher this season. I like the black and orange paint job, and it's got hinged wedges at the front now, which is good because last season the front wedge was a little bit steep and it struggled to get underneath things properly. So they've addressed that problem, and yeah, it looks fantastic. Next up we have Huge, and Huge, I cannot see any changes apart from the spinner shaft. That looks different, and it's got some different coloured bolts, but I don't see any other changes in Huge. The wheels look thicker. It looks a bit smaller, I have to say. It looks a tiny bit smaller. And Huge is the only robot I think that could take on Bite Force, it could take on Witch Doctor, it could take on any of the elite robots and have a really good chance of beating them, because it's got all the reach. You can't hit the chassis unless you're Chomp, so Huge has got a massive advantage over its fellow competitors, and it uses that well. It's got, in its first 2 seasons, it's made the top 16 both times, and that is phenomenal progress from them. So hopefully they can make it further than the first round of the top 16 this year. Next up we have Hijinks, another team who commented on my channel. Thank you very much. Absolutely huge spinning bar at the bottom, slices things up completely. Very strong construction, I was told. It was, I mentioned that it looks kind of skeletal and that the wheels could get hit, and they reassured me that it was very tough metal and that it's not going to be breaking apart anytime soon, and that is good enough for me. And Hijinks, I believe it's an owl, and owls are awesome. I love owls, and Hijinks is an owl, so I love Hijinks. Simple maths. Next up we have the new king of the flippers, and that is Hydra, the hydraulic flipper. How they achieve that, I will never know. It stunned everybody last season. It just came out of nowhere, threw things through the air like watermelons, and nobody was ever the same ever again. And hopefully it's more durable this year, because it was KO'd in 1 hit by Minotaur, and that was the biggest disappointment of the season. So they've got a new setup at the front there. Of course, the Team Archie paint jobs this year are absolutely amazing, and we will see more of that later. So great stuff from Hydra. Very much looking forward to seeing them return. Next up we have Hypershock, and Hypershock looks like a race car, and I love race cars. It looks fantastic. Look at that. It looks like a race car. I love race cars. I love Formula 1, and Hypershock has always been that kind of robot that's like an RC car on steroids. It just looks amazing. I was wondering how different it would look to last season. I didn't hear that they were making any big changes. It looks like they've combined the chassis of the 2018 Hypershock with the sort of weapon system of the 2019 one, and I just hope that it doesn't burn itself out. I am definitely looking forward to seeing Hypershock this year. I'll maybe even be rooting for them as well. Next up, we have the return of Icewave, and Icewave has got the Cybertruck engine. Of course, the only gas-powered spinner in the competition, making their return. So hyped to see them. I've been waiting to see them for so long. Is it 2 years now? Yeah, it's 2 years that since we've seen Icewave. Too long. Because Icewave is an amazing robot, and the black works so well with this Icewave. And of course they've got a new engine, and apparently it's better. And if it's better, then that's amazing, because the old Icewave was terrifyingly fast. So they are going to rip some stuff up, I assume. Next up, we have Jackpot, and Jackpot with a diamond-shaped spinner. It's just one of the best new robots in terms of looks. It looks amazing. It looks like a combination of Death Roll and Deep Six, and it can self-right. It kills things with a vertical spinner. I just hope that it isn't too slow, because with a weapon that big, you've got to have speed to back it up, and so you don't get hit on the sides and stuff. The wedge looks like very long as well. Hopefully they don't get caught on anything. And Jackpot could do very well as long as it keeps the weapon pointed as its opponent. Next up, we have Kraken, and Kraken is the only crusher this season. It's a pneumatic crusher, only crusher, and the only robot, along with Black Dragon, that we've actually seen a fight photo of. We saw them in a kind of grappling Black Dragon, which looks interesting. So obviously a lot of power in that crusher, one of the most powerful crushers ever in BattleBots. And it does a little bit better each year. Lost to Sao last time, of course, but put up a very good fight. They've got an anti-horizontal setup this time around, which is interesting. So Kraken, of course, could do very well this season as long as they protect their wheels and they don't fall over on their head. Next up, we have Lockjaw, and Lockjaw has got a single tooth vertical spinner this year. It looks chunkier. So they've probably focused more on that one tooth rather than having two separate ones connected. The forks look better. They look much stronger. Of course, they got amputated by Bite Force last time. Lockjaw, apart from that, I can't really see many changes. Lockjaw is one of those robots that always has the capability to do well, but I don't think it will win if it's got massive wheels sticking out the sides. Like, I just don't think it will do well, because eventually someone's going to rip that off. So, of course, another legendary team, but still, I don't think they're going to win this season. Right, now moving on. MadCat, and MadCat. Oh, does it look familiar? It looks like Warhawk. That's because it's like a branch of the same team, I'm pretty sure. The paint job is absolutely fantastic. Look at it. It looks amazing. It just looks so cool. Everyone's been saying that it looks cool. It really is. Of course, they've got the vertical spinner and the lifter, and of course the hammer and the lifter. So two different setups there. Both of them look equally scary and stunning. It's like everyone's gone all out with the paint jobs this year because they've had the time to do so. And MadCat looks very, very competitive this season. Moving on, we have Malice, and Malice is a horizontal drum spinner, the first of its kind. I believe it does have side armor as well, so don't worry about that. I've seen some videos of Malice testing. It looks very, very scary, the power in that spinner, and I think it's going to absolutely tear some stuff up as long as it doesn't get torn up first. It's got a lot of power in the spinner. One of the first new robots that we heard about. I've been waiting for so long to see it in action. Everybody has. And it's invertible, of course. Is there anything else to say about it? I hope that the protection on the top is enough, because it looks like there's some gaps there that could lead to the chain getting dismantled if it fought something like Kraken or Shatter or something. So hopefully the chain doesn't get too badly damaged. Moving on, we have Mammoth, and Mammoth is Mammoth. Not much more to say, to be honest. It is very well protected, very, very tough robot. It doesn't look it, but it is really tough. The drive motors are well protected this season, as are the rest of the electronics. They're much harder to hit now, I believe, and it's got double the power in the lifter. It's just going to do so well, because last season it went like 3-2 or something, or 3-3. It absolutely stunned everyone with how well it performed against all the odds. Like, no one was expecting Mammoth to do well, and it came out of nowhere and proved us all wrong. And so I think they're going to do that again this season. They've got a lot of lifters to throw around without worrying about horizontal spinners and stuff, so Mammoth, of course, is a very strong competitor. P1, and P1 is a race car. I love race cars. It's a Formula 1 car. It looks like a McLaren, and P1 is absolutely amazing. It's what is honestly one of the best looking robots of all time. Of course, a forward hinged flipper, and they were only one of its kind in BattleBots, I think. Much faster this season, much more well armoured. They had potential last season, but they had some reliability problems, and they had some problems about getting torn to pieces by Sidewinder, etc. Hopefully that doesn't happen again this season, because P1 has a lot of potential, and I don't want it to lose, I want it to do well. Moving on, we have Big Shredit Bro, Pain Train, and of course made by Team Shredit. It's basically a bigger version of a Beetleweight called Shredit Bro that absolutely tore everything up. It's phenomenal. It's an egg beater. It's very, very well armoured. It looks amazing. Hopefully it doesn't have reliability issues, because it's a very rushed build. It was built very last minute, but the weapon looks absolutely nasty. It's very compact and small, which means it's well armoured, and it's got a very tough, big weapon, which is always good. Moving on, we have Perfect Phoenix, the youngest driver in the competition. Basically Brutality refurbished and fitted with new parts by Ray Billings. Of course, it was originally built by Paul Ventimiglia. People have been saying that it might not do as well as Brutality did, because of course Brutality was a champion, but because it's an old robot that's been refurbished, people are saying it's vertical spinner food. I don't think it is, you know, because that horizontal spinner, has a lot of power, and it can use its wedge as well while the horizontal spinner is spinning, because the wedge sticks out in front of the horizontal spinner. The kind of gear that drives the weapon bar is more protected this season as well, so there's no worries about that getting damaged. And I don't know why people are writing this one off so quickly. It could do really, really well, as long as it gets as long as everything is 2020 quality, not 2009 quality. I don't see why it's not going to do well. Why is everyone so skeptical about Perfect Phoenix? Rampage, and Rampage is 2 wheels and a vertical spinner. It's the thickest armor in the tournament. It is a really tough, thick robot. It was meant to have a lifter, but now it doesn't because weight problems, and now it has a bigger vertical spinner instead, which is not a bad thing. It kind of looks like Brutus, and it's a box with a vertical spinner. Not the most creative of all designs, but still very, very cool. Moving on. Ribbot, and Ribbot, they had to use something else to make their shell this year, because the old material got banned because it was a pain in the butt to clean up. Looks like they're actually going to use their undercutter this year. I want to see them use it because it looks lethal. They always use their vert, and yes, I guess it works, but I want to see their horizontal spinner tear some stuff up as well. I mean, come on, is that so much to ask? It's very manoeuvrable because it's got massive wheels. I don't think it's got massive frog legs sticking out the side as well, so hopefully that won't impede their movement anymore. And Ribbot, of course, a fan favourite. I didn't really take much notice of it, but it is a fan favourite and it is very awesome. Moving on, we have Rotator, and Rotator, another robot that we saw in the test box review. This season they're kind of going with their single spinner setup again, they're primarily undercutter, Victor Soto said. So we probably won't be getting the double disc configuration out of Rotator this season. I know it's really unfortunate because that's what Rotator's known for, and if they don't use that, then it just doesn't feel complete. It feels like half a Rotator. It feels like Rote. It doesn't feel like Rotator, it feels like Rote. But Victor Soto, he's won competitions with undercutters before, so I guess he knows what he's doing, and now that Rotator is designed to use its undercutter more instead of last minute just deciding to use that undercutter, it will do better. Well, I hope it will anyway. I don't have much information on Rotator. Next up we have Rusty, and Rusty appears to be everyone's favourite, and I don't know why. Of course, it's a very cool, like, comical robot, and it's funny, and it's a cool theme, and it looks fantastic, but it's not my absolute favourite. I don't tend to root for robots that kind of don't have a chance of winning. Like, it's got Lex and side pods, with all due respect, it is an amazing robot, but it's a tracked robot and it's got Lex and side pods. I don't think it's going to win very many fights. Its weapon is a drill, which is interesting because if the drill drills through another opponent, then it could hit some vital organs and stuff inside. It's almost like a stab wound. So Rusty could cause an upset like that, but in terms of reaching the top 32, I don't think it will. Moving on, we have SawBlaze, and SawBlaze is absolutely terrifying this year because their weapon spins at 250 miles an hour. Remember the hit that it gave to Sal that destroyed the Tribar? Well, that was at 160 miles an hour, I believe. So 90 miles an hour quicker, and SawBlaze is absolutely terrifying. It looks different, but I can't tell how. I think it's a different shape at the front. Of course, their anti-spinner wedge got ripped apart by Tombstone last year. Hopefully they've improved that a little bit, but good stuff from SawBlaze as always. Moving on, we've got Sharko in Ed Robinson's last season for the foreseeable future, and Sharko is a flipper this season, a pneumatic flipper. It's got a lot of power, not a lot of surface area at the tip of the flipper, so it might have some trouble getting underneath things and flipping them, but it's got HDP wheels, and it could flip some things through the air and cause some upsets at least. It looks amazing, as always. It might make the top 32, I don't know, it just depends on what sort of opponents it gets. So good luck to Sharko, very, very good team. And next we have the robot that looks like a CAD render. It's Shatter. It's so beautiful. It looks like a CAD render. When I saw this thing for the first time, I genuinely thought that it wasn't the real thing. It is so cool. Just look at the blue and the pink and the wedgelets and the most powerful hammer apart from Beta that we've ever seen. It's just amazing to look at, and I know it's going to absolutely destroy some stuff. It was on the verge of the top 16 last year, I believe. With a dominant win against Minotaur, it could have made it. Easily it could have made it. But unfortunately Minotaur worked and Shatter lost. Which is a shame, because I wanted to see another hammer apart from Blacksmith make the top 16. Because I'm not a huge fan of Blacksmith, so I would have liked to see Shatter there instead. Of course, it's got the Omni wheels, it can move in any direction, not just forwards and backwards. And I think it takes the prize for the most beautiful robot attending BattleBots 2020 this season. Next up we have Scorpios, and I can't see many changes to Scorpios. They have done some internal changes. They've got that kind of bent up plow thing again. I don't know how well that's going to do against vertical spinners. It hasn't really done well before against them. A lot of power in the weapon still. Scorpios made the playoff matches last season. It was a fan favourite, of course, so very, very respectable robot, and it could pull off a few surprises. Moving on, we have Slammer, and Slammer is a suplex robot from Team Mobot, I think. Yeah, Team Mobot. So it's got the suplexing. It's got basically 2 arms that clamp down, and either a wedge or lifting arms that lift up, and it picks things up and it suplexes them. They're sponsored by Mobot, who, of course, without their sponsorship, this season of BattleBots wouldn't be there. It just wouldn't happen. So thank you very, very much to Mobot for bringing the season of BattleBots to us, essentially. And good luck to Slamo, because Slamo is one of the most awesome machines that applied for the season, I think. It's just a very cool concept. Hopefully Craig Danby will not build a robot that breaks down immediately. I just want one of his robots to work properly for a whole season without breaking down for no reason. Moving on, we've got Slapbox, and Slapbox is a very, very tough robot, I'm told. It's got a little mini bot there, it's so cute, it's so adorable. And of course the main robot is a lifting snoot, just a massive lifter at the front basically, 4 wheels, Very awesome looking robot. It's just absolutely amazing. It's got highlighter wheels. It's got wedges at the front. It's got everything. It's just it's another lifter, and I think it could do very well. Moving on, we've got Smee. And Smee is a long robot that can either wrap around its opponents and hit them at the side with undercutters, or it could be a solid wedge. And either of them sound very interesting indeed. Of course, the wrapping around thing is not a concept that we've seen before, so I can't really comment on that. It could just wrap around things and snipe the wheels, or it could wrap around things and break in half, you never know. The solid wedge thing we've seen before, and that is absolutely devastating because you just can't get around it. And it's got undercutters at the sides, and it's going to actually do damage to its opponents, which is very interesting. Of course, a very experienced team, and very well engineered robot. Very, very unique concept. Good on them for coming up with it themselves, so good luck to Smee. Everyone's so excited to see it. Moving on, we have Son of Waiachi. Nobody thought the Son of Waiachi was competing this season. Look at the team member guy. He doesn't even look like he knows the Son of Waiachi is competing, but Son of Waiachi is there. Obviously, one of the most powerful spinners the BattleBots has ever seen. Phenomenal power in Son of Waiachi, but we don't actually know if it's a main competitor or if it's just an alternate bot, because Bronco said they weren't coming back in their back, Icewave said they weren't coming back in their back, and so is Sao. So we're thinking that there might be some sort of thing to do with the veterans that might be going on this season, which should be very, very interesting. Anyway, a lot of people are excited to see Sao back, as am I. Moving on, we have Sporkinok, and Sporkinok is like Lycan with the wheels at the back. 4 wheels that are doubled up, so it's going to be very, very fast. It's got a lifter and a spork thing. I don't know how effective the spork thing is going to be at controlling things or breaking them. I don't know. I don't really like the idea of a spork for a weapon. But the lifter looks cool. The lifter looks pretty cool. How competitive it's going to be, I don't know, because we've never seen it fight before. Moving on, we have Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero is, of course, a flipper bot. It's just absolutely fantastic looking this season. A lot of power in the flipper as well. They've improved the airway system, so they get a lot more power in the flipper, and it's under new ownership now, which is sad to see the old team go, but hopefully this new team can take it to at least the top 16, because it deserves it. It deserves it after so many years of competing and not a whole lot of success. It was, of course, the first BattleBot to ever get an out of the arena in 2009, I think it was. A long time ago. So Sub-Zero has got a lot of history, and it deserves to earn something for its prize there. Moving on, we have Tantrum, probably the most durable robot in BattleBots, and it's got a punching spinner, a vertical spinner that moves forwards and it punches things, and it is fantastic. They've got the fists that shoot fire this season, which is terrifying, and it's got eyes. And Tantrum, of course, is very small, it's very compact, it's very dense, and it's just a marvel of engineering that they were able to fit all of that in there. So well done to the team, and amazing work from them. Moving on, we have the Big Dill, and the Big Dill is a lifter from the Warhawk team, and I don't remember seeing this one compete. I think it competed at Orlando, but I don't remember it, so it can't have been very memorable. Anyway, it's just kind of like another one of those Claw Viper Slapbox style lifters. We're getting a lot of them this season. I'm not sure why. And it's got the same chassis as Warhawk. It's got a very tough kind of wedge at the front lifters, and yeah, Big Dill is looking very cool. We have Tombstone next, and Tombstone, of course, is everybody is probably the fan favourite of BattleBots, the original 2-wheel horizontal spinner of the reboot, and it's just so much power. They've got like 11 different bars this season. They've got it looks shorter, the frame looks shorter, and the weapon looks bigger, which means more power and in a smaller space. So Tombstone, without Bite Force to stop it, could be a force to be reckoned with this season. Next up, we have Tracer, which is a vertical spinner, and we've seen Tracer fight some wooden pallets before, and we've seen it in the test box. It is very quick, it is very compact. It's got an absolutely phenomenal looking vertical spinner. It's got a mini bot, which I forget the name of, but it's there, and it's like anti-vertical spinner. I think it almost like attaches itself to the front of Tracer, and then Tracer drives forward and it gets underneath things with it, which is awesome. So Tracer, it has its whole armor kind of bolted onto its weapon shaft, I think. Anyway, Team Chimera has a YouTube channel and it's very underrated, so please go and watch it. Moving on, we have Uppercut, and Uppercut doesn't have many big changes this season, except they don't have their mini bot. So no mini bot from Uppercut this season. It's black now. It's been sitting in a crate for a long while, so hopefully nothing's gone wrong in that crate over such a long period of time. But Uppercut made the top 16 last season after a very clever strategic play in the Rumble, and well done to them for doing that, and hopefully they can replicate their success this season, because I like Uppercut. It's a very, very cool machine. Moving on, we have just missing out on the best looking robot this season to shatter is Valkyrie. Look at Valkyrie, it is beautiful. It's got the tri-spinner this season, it's got the kind of circuit board look going on, it just looks absolutely amazing. And this year Valkyrie's going to make the top 16. It's missed out too many times, and it just has to make it this season because it's an incredibly capable robot, and it's got an incredible amount of power in the spinner, and it's an amazing design, and it just hasn't made it to the top 16, and I don't know how. And they deserve it. They really do deserve it. Moving on, we have War. Easy. It's a vertical spinning bar similar to Hypershock. Dividing the crowd this year is War Easy. It's some people that don't like it because it's too similar to Hypershock. I really, really like it, and I hope it fights Hypershock, because then we have two arty cars on steroids fighting each other, and it will be like watching Formula 1. Moving on, we have Whiplash, and I don't know what happened to the picture, sorry. Whiplash looks more optimized this season. It just looks like they've got their chunkier vertical spinner attached to the lifter. They've got wheels that look solid this season, and of course they've got the anti-horizontal setup, which is like no spinner and just a lifter, a solid lifter, and there's more protection around the sides kind of. So Whiplash, they've worked out what their weaknesses are, and they've worked out a way to overcome them as well. So still definitely top 4 material this season. Moving on, we have our final robot, which is Witch Doctor. And Witch Doctor, it looks the same from the outside, but it is not. The wheels are further tucked in. They're different colours, of course. Witch Doctor, you don't mess with perfection. It only lost to Bite Force last season, and that was because of just like an unlucky. It could have gone either way. I reckon 6 times out of 10, Witch Doctor was beaten Bite Force. Unfortunately for them, it just went the other way. So last minute decision to bring Witch Doctor BattleBots it was. And hopefully they haven't missed any repairs on their robot or anything. Hopefully they fixed everything in time. They've got 4 weapon belts this season. They've got their Stealth Rater, of course. It's definitely one of the competitors for the crown this season. Thank you very much for watching this, like, sort of first impressions video. My voice is so sore right now. Anyway, by the time this goes out, the pictures of the BattleBots will be on the BattleBots website, and I hope you go on over there and check them out for yourself so you can have some opinions of your own. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, I bet about 3 people are watching this, but thank you very much for making it to the end of the video, and I will see you next week.